Hi, welcome back to the Veach case. Today's video we're going to be looking at the supposed covered up M cave and analysing photos of it. With time, some hikers have gone to the place and inspected it. Couple have been more hands-on than others. The odd one has just simply walked by it and ignored it, like Aquachigger. But someone like Sean Horlacker, one of the originals, and SB Vega's Adventures, quite a consistent person within the community, have documented it, tried putting their camera devices up close to the cracks and gaps to take a look within. Ultimately, it hasn't been truly successful. These cracks and gaps in the rock wall are quite small and tight, okay? So trying to fit a full-on camera or phone in isn't possible. Though, with the photos we do have, I'm going to try and analyse, enhance them visually to see if it becomes a little bit clearer, to see if it reveals what's within, whether it be the depth or there's something strange, an object within, you never know. And that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be looking at 2019 material, photos of it up close, looking inside of the cave, and as well 2023, I believe, or 2022. So, you know, a bit of a time difference, right? 2019, 2022, see if anything's changed, if anything else has been revealed, and so on, right? As we do go along, if you are live to the premiere, appreciate it. Share your thoughts and opinions in the chat on the right-hand side. Let me know what you think about it all. And as well, if you got your own additional pieces of information or questions, list it down below in the comments section. As well, down there in the comments section, you'll find the link to my last video I did. Make sure to check that out as well, okay? So, with that all being said, let's head on over to these photos of this covered up M cave and try and explore what's inside it. Here we are. So I just wanted to use this image before we jump into the deep end, because like if I went right into the hole, people would be thinking, which hole are we looking in? Where are we at? Just for context, backstory, this is the supposed covered M cave we're talking about, we're analysing today. Same one what we've analysed in past videos, no change there. And it's about getting up close and personal with this supposed cave to really understand what's going on. Not from the outside, but more so the inside. Sure, as I said, people agree and believe it's natural rock formation, but there's no harm in looking through the little holes and gaps, right? Just for a better understanding. So we're really focusing on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, there's not as many gaps. You can see cracks. There's a gap on the like edge of it on the side, but you can't look like within. You're only looking on the side. Though here, there's a fair-sized gap there. I believe that's where Sean tried putting his camera in or wedging it in as far as he could go, but you know, he could only go so far. As for SB Vega's Adventures, he did it up here where that black rock is now missing. Okay, so it's all within the same concentrated area, because everywhere else it's kind of closed off and, you know, tight together. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that we're really looking at the holes and gaps in this area, okay? So that's what we'll follow with the next image, right? The only other thing that I would say about this, and some people have suggested it throughout time, a snake cam, some kind of thin camera on a long stick. If you could feed that in, that would be perfect, right? Decent quality, with some lighting, thin, agile, maybe somewhat flexible, and shove it in. It would be also beneficial for it to be used nearby at the shallow cave where the keyhole is. Even if it's natural, the keyhole, even if this rock formation is natural, if you can fit something in to be able to look on the inside, why not? You know, there's no harm. There's Sean on the right, if you wonder who that person is. Move on to this slide. So here we go to begin with. Already there's a bit of depth going in, But I think one thing that can be acknowledged is the side of the wall, if you want to call it that. If it was a cave, the side of it is quite chunky. Knowing that, the front of it, a rock wall, then you look on the inside, the side of it, look how chunky, look how thick it is. It's quite thick, right? And obviously, the more depth to the front-facing rock wall as it goes in, the less likely for it to be a true cave, right? But it does go a little bit dark within, right? Can't see too much, which, is that a positive or not? I mean, to a very small extent, it's a positive, as it suggests. There's a bit of depth, and there's a bit of depth, it could be considered a cave. You can get shallow caves, and obviously you can get deep caves. Though, one thing a couple of humans have come to consensus on is within the whole area, when Kenny Veach in the past said, you can go here for bones and just explore about, you can go spelunking in caves, which means exploring, deep diving into caves, going deep into them, and yet not a single hiker after Kenny that's been out there have been able to successfully locate a deep cave. Come across mine shafts, but mine shafts aren't exactly caves, are they? No. And the mine shafts people have been in, it didn't lead to coming across a cave. Not even that. So, at least with that, it suggests, well, if there's no spelunking taking place yet Kenny Veach said there was, then where do we stand with this whole entire hike? If there's no deep caves, then obviously the M cave isn't present in the area. Maybe it's elsewhere. Depends how you look at, the outlook. The only thought I would have, okay, just on the spot, if it was somewhere rough within the area, the whole spelunking, what Kenny was talking about, then that cave must be filled in for some reason. Am I saying this one? Not quite. It could be elsewhere, right? If Kenny was able to go spelunking in the area, and he's been genuine, and he was, no other hiker's been able to, then that must mean that cave or a cave has been covered up since. Because how else would you go about it? How? Anyway, we can edit and enhance the visual image of this in a second. I just want to go through the slides of photos just to get the slight different angles. Okay, move on to the next one. This is looking much deeper in, not as clear, bit blurry, but whilst you can see the side of the rock wall going in is kind of thick and has a bit of depth, right in the middle it's just pure blackness, right? It could still, there can still be rocks at the back of it, right? But there's a bit of depth to it. This rock wall, this front face has a bit of chunkiness to it going in. Down here, there is some rock there, but it's dark, yeah. And then you got this one where it was even more zoomed in. This was by Sean when he was looking up close. That could suggest that it does hit the back of it, where it's a dead end, possibly, but we can enhance it shortly. And then this one was kind of in the same area, but I think a bit higher up in the area where that black rock was, which Sean said was loose. But obviously, it's been exposed since, and with that black rock not being present anymore, you can see a bit of a gap. Now, is it anywhere near possible to be able to look through it? Very unpractical, not practical, but just working with what we have. So, start from here and just edit. We're going to do it raw, so you can see up close how the method goes, how things work, okay? Right, okay. I think I was operating it incorrectly last time. You just got to drag it. That's all. Okay. So we just go through each one and just try and enhance it. And let me know, as I do go along and try and reveal the image and reveal what's inside of this supposed covered M cave, just say what you think and share your thoughts in the chat in between, right? So we've got exposure. Obviously, the darker, the worse it is. We want it as light as possible, right? Do you see how the side of that rock wall has been illuminated, lit up? We're not removing objects in an unnatural way. We're just giving it more light so you can actually see what's within and the depth to it. Look at that rock wall on the inside, how it's lit up now. Yeah, if it was in its natural format, you can't really see it there. It's kind of dark. But we increase the light and you can see a bit more to it. What I would say is, though, on the right-hand side going inwards, there seems to be quite a few loose rocks, like individual pieces. So it could all crumble with time from the looks of it. Do you get what I mean? Look, that's the original. If I hold it down, original, and then what it looks like now. Okay, so we'll keep it to that brightness. Brilliance, what does that really do? I guess it just makes it a bit brighter, to be honest. Ooh, that's weird. So if we can kind of like block out the bits closest to us on the outside and just really concentrate on the inside. So something like that. Shadows, would you want shadows? It's always good to have a bit of shadowing just so it's a little bit clearer, right? Contrast. Too much contrast ends up undoing the brightness. Okay. So that one kind of makes it a little bit clearer. That one makes it a bit blurrier, but easier to see within. It will be interesting to see the one straight on looking deeper and see what that reveals. We'll do that very shortly. Black point isn't really helpful. Now, just want to acknowledge one thing because some people may notice. In the past, when I roughly did this from the odd photo angle, I didn't have the same device. I was limited to editing tools capacity, right? So with what I now have, might be able to make more sense of it, right? And reveal more than previous. Saturation, vibrancy, we don't want any of that. Warmth. Slight bit of warmth just to make it a bit clearer. The tint, no, pointless. Sharpness. I mean, is sharpness any good? It's one of those things where if the photo is already clear HD, then you don't need to really add sharpness to it. Unless the edges of a photo, the outline of an object is a bit rough around the edges. You can kind of like sharpen it up. But something like this, because the rocks are a bit rough and rugged anyway, if you make it too sharp, it kind of loses its quality. You add a bit of sharpness to it, you see a bit more definition of the rock itself. That definition really improves the outline of the rock itself and the opening looking within. So it's good to have that setting on. Noise reduction, it's kind of counterproductive that. You don't want noise reduction on. Vignette. I still think it's not good vignette on here. It's good on Adobe Lightroom, but definitely not on here. So if I tap it once, we should be able to see what it looks like in its original format. Original, and that's how it looks now. Original, and that's how it looks now. So basically, the outer sector of this rock formation has been kind of blurred out or, whitewashed, if that's the correct wording, or made white to blank it out. And then the concentration is of the midsection looking within. And from the looks of it, it does appear to be separate individual rocks. So you could argue maybe a little bit unstable, right? Let me know your thoughts about that. We'll just save that for now. Let's now look here at the one going right within. This will be most interesting. Hopefully it all fits on the screen, I hope. And we just go through the same settings again. You never know what may show up, right? This one might be a bit trickier just simply because of the lack of focus within. You can see the rock wall on the side. Highlight, what does that really do? I guess that highlight's good because it concentrates more on the inside. I'm already aware that either people watching right now or people that will watch later on or in a few days, months' time, will likely leave a comment down below dissatisfied, whinging, whining, bitching, moaning, saying, what's the point of this? This is a waste of time. Well, at the end of the day, tough fucking shit. This is an analysis of this covered cave. This material, I'm working with what I have and what is publicly available. It's as simple as that. And most likely, the people that will complain, bitch and moan will either have a default profile with default content, no videos at all. If they do have videos on their channel, it'll probably be very amateur from 5-6 years ago, or Fortnite related content, or Minecraft, whingy whiny bitchy moany whingers, squeakers. Okay, I've seen it all before. I know exactly humans I'm dealing with. Anyway, let's focus back on here. Really, yes, it's the blurriness that lets it down. But let me know, how deep do you think it is, this supposed covered cave? Is there depth to it, or does it reach a dead end at the back? Brightness. That is pointless. That's pointless. You want it literally unchanged, untouched. Vibrancy. Warmth. We don't really want warmth here. Tint, we don't want that. Sharpness. In this case, sharpness doesn't seem to have much effect. Definition. I'd say it's still suggestive that there's a bit of depth to it. Harder to tell here. It's the perfect angle, but I mean, at the back, you see that bit of rock sticking out, so it kind of makes it a bit tighter, right? Of course, we're looking at it in like the far right-hand corner of this cave. We're not looking directly center of it as if you was to walk in. We're right in the top right corner trying to look at it. So we don't know the width, the depth, if there's like an overhang, if there's any extra rocks stuck out, obscuring, blocking. You never know. Move on to this one, which once again is not good visually focus, but we just do it very quickly. It does appear that there isn't as much depth here, so maybe it's quite telling now. Just do that quickly. Contrast. If you make it dark, then you could say, oh, there's depth to it. It must be a cave. That's what we're not doing, because it'd be counterproductive. The whole point of brightness is making it as bright as possible to be able to see further within. Kind of like if you had a torch, right? Looking within. Magnifying glass isn't needed here because we're up close already. A magnifying glass would probably only make it blurrier. Definition kind of brings the shapes out. Noise reduction, no. Yeah, it does seem to be a bit of a rock wall there, and that's within. So that could debunk that immediately. Try and have a look at this latest one. Latest imagery. It's not the best, if I'll be honest with you. So it's somewhere within there. Something like that. Brilliance. That kind of works. Highlights. Shadows. You want shadows? contrast. Zoom out a bit. I mean, there's areas where it does look darker than others. Like there seems to be within as a rock wedged in or so. Because what you got to remember, if you're on top of this structure and you're looking down at it, there appears to be a few tiny rocks, pebbles wedged down in the gaps. Maybe it's fallen through or crumbled off pre-existing rock wall, right? So some of it might drop down. And in general, if the structure is kind of unstable, unsafe, right? Black point, warmth, tint, sharpness. See, this works better here, the sharpness, because the image quality is already better, right? It actually has a positive effect when I do it here. Definition, noise reduction, vignette. So that's the original. That's what it looks like now. Original now. I guess the key thing is when you look through that gap, you notice there is a loose bit of rock or a rock piece sticking out of the wall on the side, whereas the original one doesn't show it that much, but the adjusted one does. Before and after. Before and after. Okay? There we go. Sometimes what I've done, like when we look at this one, it doesn't look like it goes in too far because the angle of it is pointing more towards the side of the wall. Whereas this one is head on, looking further within. The only problem is the focus isn't there. What I used to do in the past was the presets. And sometimes this was quite useful, especially when it came to the keyhole cave with the supposed reptilian eye at the time. Kind of isolates it and efficient, but it's not really needed here. So, the other key photo to look at, right, and this is on top. This is from SB Vega's point of view. He's looking down at it, okay? So we said about that, you got a few loose rocks down there. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, when you're on top of this structure, this rock wall, and you look down at it on top, you notice a fair crack going all the way down, or going all the way across on top. Don't know exactly where it starts. Like there appears to be a fair gap going down. So what would happen if you dropped a camera down, a GoPro on a piece of string, because it looks big enough to fit one down. If not a GoPro, there's little snake cameras on like a long rod, right? And it's flexible. And you send it down, maybe it could reveal something, right? More cracks here. I've done the red outline to show you where it's like it is. It starts there, works its way down here, comes down, down, and then ends at this point here. There's a bit of depth to it. Why is it cracked? I guess nature, natural, right? You know, if it was really sealed up, I don't know, maybe there would have been a proper seal to it, right? But then again, you know, if you're just thinking on the spot, like in the UK, you get dry stone walls where in the past, more traditional, you've got these walls in place, man-made, but no cement was used. No like seal or anything like that. It was just simply stones, rocks stacked upon each other in certain ways, wedged together, wedged in so they held naturally, held in place by themselves. And the walls were quite durable and long lasting, right? So, could that method have been used here if it was a cover-up? Maybe. I mean, Jeff Clark did mention about when it comes to mine shafts, holes in the ground, when they've been covered up, they've been using some maybe sand, but also some special foam where to spray it on or pour it in. I think it might be more of a spray. a spray. And it reacts, it expands, expanding foam, forms a hard seal cover. And I don't know if they've got to paint it or the foam itself adapts to the colour, or it's of a certain colour to begin with. It fills it in and it becomes unrecognisable afterwards. Once the process has been completed and you looked at it, you wouldn't know it was a mine shaft opening. You wouldn't know it was a hole, to that extent. And I think maybe they put some stones in as well to fill it up a bit and then use the foam. I'm sure Jeff Clark will make the corrections if needed down below. But here, you don't really see any white seams, like where it's been fused together or, special equipment was used. It looks very natural to me, the way it's cracked, worn with time, wearing away. But one thing what I will say is, right, whether it is a cover-up or not, maybe with time, and, it'll probably take quite a bit. With these cracks, gaps forming, and with it running all the way down, maybe, just maybe, someday in the future, the rocks will crumble, fall off, break off. I mean, if there was an earthquake in the area, if possible, at some point, that could assist it and speed it up as like a catalyst. I mean, it was an interesting point made by Miss T, also known as Guidance, who suggested about could some kind of earthquake have been responsible for the black rock in this area falling off. In that case, no, because it was kind of wedged in. It was leaning back on it, so it wouldn't fall off. Most likely a human did it. But if we're looking here with these cracks, bit of intensity shaking in the ground, it could cause it to shift, to slip, possibly. You never know, right? It shows and highlights, in a way, a possible weak point, maybe. Like, if people are secretly watching right now, if people are lurking in the background in the darkness, what you see here, right, where it's highlighted in red on top, looking down at the structure of this rock wall, this appears to be the weak point. Maybe a few crowbars wedged in, a couple of them all the way down, and then levered. It could force it out. Now, I'm sure Jeff Clark will reject that claim or that idea, say it's silly, it's not possible, it's not practical, blah, 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 blah. But this is the whole point of an analysis, looking at for and against arguments, differences, thinking outside of the box at times. We've seen it extensively in the Dylan Rounds case. It's all under control here too, okay? Just for the Kenny Veach viewers, the new people coming on in, the old timers, when I say it's under control, it fucking is under control, okay? People from the Dylan Rounds case will understand that point. Exactly. So yeah, interesting. And it's all of the same thing, right? So it's making me think, are these individual pieces of rock all the way down? If they are, if they're not, this crack seems to follow the whole thing. It's all one crack going down. Fractured? Do you call it that, maybe? Yeah, interesting. And with time, it may weaken further. Now, the only other thing just to highlight as a little update, if you want to call it that, refinement. Remember in the past when we were looking down there, potential loose rocks, I think it might have been that one over there, which may have been from this area on the side of the cave. What we need to is look at an alternative photo, alternative angle on ground down there, looking at the bottom of this cave, and I think we might be able to get to the bottom of it, okay? So just as a little bit of context, if you're looking at the front, the face of this rock wall, it's down at the bottom, where Sean is stood as to where this missing rock could be. What I will do is I'll play to you a clip in another video, just as a reference point, just to spread that awareness. Obviously, Jeff Clark has documented it on his channel. Make sure to check out Jeff Clark's channel if you wish. but I think there needs to be more awareness spread about it. Jeff Clark, his more recent videos, he doesn't always label his hikes out there as M Cave hike or Kenny Veach hike, and that's critical. You need to include those terms, those keywords, so it's relevant. And when people start searching for Kenny Veach videos or MK videos, they'll be directly, finding Jeff Clark's videos, right? So Jeff Clark, make sure to rename your videos or add to the titles of your videos keywords such as Kenny Veach, M Cave hike, okay? So here's the base of it, looking literally right down at the ground, slightly more onto the right hand side, okay? And these rocks do appear more fitting visually in terms of the size and colour of them in comparison to the ones which I was analysing from SB Vegas Adventures footage, okay? Jeff Clark does acknowledge it himself. And yeah, depending which way you look at it, that side looks like it's come off from another rock, broken off, because it's different colour. The texture of it too has changed, and then the rest of it on the side and around is the outer rougher surface which you'd normally get on the front of the rock wall, like what we've seen with the other rocks, okay? And as well, the missing rock piece was blackish dark rock, and this checks out there on the side. It is darker, right? Yeah. There's another chunk there, wherever that came from, right? Maybe we're not dealing with just one missing rock, but maybe a couple. Maybe it's fragmented, broken up, right? Bit more to the left-hand side. We'll get to that here. So it's a bit clearer. Okay. Darkish rock. That lightish side must have been what it was connected to at the time. Another piece of dark rock there. So a fair bit has come off. You've got to take in mind that these chunks, these boulders, if you want to call it small rock boulders, weren't there years ago, right? With time, they've just appeared. And it probably all occurred at the same moment if someone or some people were present trying to break entry to this supposed covered up M cave, right? Don't know where the other pieces though belong to. I don't know if it's from the exact same spot or further up above where Jeff Clark said to have been digging. But Jeff Clark, I probably could just send you a message, but if you're watching this, Jeff Clark, just let me know if it's okay to spread awareness of a portion of your video to do with this clip, right? Just let me know. It'll be helpful. But yeah, that does seem more likely. That's one of the missing rock pieces, what we've been talking about all this time. Okay. That one there looks similar to that one there because of the colour, the pattern of it. Maybe even just that one. Like it's black, dark, and it's just below the covered cave on the ground, someone using tools, hands, whatever, pulled it off, pried it off, it fell down, rolled, landed on the ground, and there it is. So, looks like it's not really missing, but someone did move it to begin with. All in all, hopefully you found the video interesting, and let me know if you notice anything strange out of the photos, the enhanced images. I think next time at some point what I'll need to do is look at the keyhole up close and enhance that photo. As for Sean's footage, I already enhanced that in the past. The footage wasn't up close at the hole, it was from a bit of distance. It did reveal what looked to be an eye at the time, though it didn't reveal what was within the hole, like how deep does it go. So I might have to resort to looking at Jay Silverheel's footage. Jay Silverheels did go down there himself. He kind of debunked it with his knowledge and what he believes it to be and what caused it. Some kind of bee, fly, some chewing thing, right? But natural or not, it would be good to understand the depth of that little keyhole. I did ask SB Vegas Adventures and he said he's not seen it before. He can't see it himself because it's too small. But Sean Horlacher was able to notice it immediately when he went in. Maybe it's the time of day, maybe it's the lighting that may play a role. Regardless, there is footage out there of the keyhole. I can do some coverage on it, shorter video, enhance the image, see the depth of it as well. So it provides a point of view to SB Vega's adventures, so he can see it for himself, okay, like to do with what I'm talking about. So, if you've got your own information, list it down below in the comment section. Share your thoughts and opinions too. Feel free to like the video, appreciate that. And if you do have questions, list it down below and maybe they can be answered at a certain point, okay? So we'll see what happens next. I think it might be a Dylan Rounds video to get in here and there, and then obviously the odd dodgy video. There's a little handful of stuff. I'm surprised myself that I'm able to do a range of different videos which bounce off from one another and it's not too disruptive. I didn't think I'd be able to do that, but it's kind of worked. So it might provide the opportunity down the line to cover other cases, you know, if I can. It'll be interesting to see Ty Corbin with what he's doing supposedly to do with Aidan Clean, if he provides it from his point of view. I'll reach out to Ty Corbin at some point and ask him, does he have any places of interest? And then maybe I can do a map analysis of it, like what we did with Dylan Rounds. Just remind me in case I forget, okay? So, all in all, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. But for now, goodbye and good night.